Are you willing to do everything that's required to ensure that you're giving yourself the best chance of being a success in your business? Are you willing to jump in the deep end and commit 100% to this? This is the question that's been on my mind today, and this is what I want to explore in today's episode. If you've been struggling with consistency, stress, overwhelm in your business, my 5-minute daily planning continuous improvement checklist may be exactly what you need to get yourself really making the most of your day. It's been specifically designed to help entrepreneurs like you not only make the most from your career and the work that you're trying to pursue, but to help you start enjoying the journey along the way. So all you need to do is reach out and let me know, and I'll shoot it straight through, no strings attached. Hello, and welcome back to the From Zero to Marketing Hero podcast. My name's Paul Heron. I'm a life coach. I'm an entrepreneur. In some ways, I'm calling myself a podcaster now. I don't know how far that'll go. But I successfully managed to make my escape from the corporate world some years ago. I've been through all the ups and downs of starting a business and establishing myself, and I've come out the other side and I've got a successful coaching business, and I'm proud to be able to help others through their own journey. This podcast is my latest attempt at ensuring that I continue pushing myself out of my comfort zone. Over the last 5 years, I have predominantly outsourced my marketing, and I recently decided that this is the year that I'm going to take ownership and responsibility and figure this stuff out for myself. My plan is to start really understanding my ideal client and their challenges at a deeper level, learn how to create and craft offers that resonate with them, and hopefully figure out how I can start attracting them into my world on my terms. I hope to not only document my journey along the way, I want to be interviewing interesting people that have value to add, and hopefully along the way you'll get some valuable insights and get to have a bit of a look at how some of the coaching methodologies and principles that I use are applied in real life. So without any further ado, let's get into today's episode. So this question of, are you willing to do what's required to succeed, has been on my mind. And I think it's a really interesting question to think through. Today, I want to share the top 4 things that really resonate with me and that I believe are most important to consider when trying to answer this question of, do I have it in me to commit myself to this and to follow through and do what's required? Before we get started on this, I also just want to quickly clarify that I am making the assumption that some of the work in deciding what we're actually aiming towards, what ultimate success looks like, what that ultimate destination point that we're working towards is. I want to make the assumption that we've done work to understand what that looks like. And I want to make sure that we have done the brutally honest review assessment work to figure out where we actually are right now. I think understanding these 2 points is essential for us to be able to make progress. I've touched on these points already in previous episodes. I might leave a link below if I can find those episodes. But I'm sure those questions will come up more and more as I go through this experience. But for today, I want to make the assumption that we are clear on both where we are and where we're going. And as I say, I want to point out the 4 things that I believe are essential in answering the question of, do I have it in me? Am I up for this? And am I committed to doing exactly what's required? And that leads me into the first point that I think is really important for us to consider when determining whether we're up for this. We need to understand whether we are okay with not knowing the entire route that we're going to take. If we get ourselves clear on what ultimate success looks like, what that destination looks like, and if we understand where we are, we want to be able to just decide what that next piece of action that we're going to take is, what that looks like. We want to be able to make a commitment to taking massive action on that step, and we want to give ourselves permission to just follow through and take that action and be open-minded to whatever the results, whatever the feedback we receive from that action is. And I think this is huge. For many of us, we want the certainty of trying to figure out exactly how we're going to get to our destination. But the thing is, we're tackling goals that are challenging to us. They're going to push us out of our comfort zone, and we can't know the entire journey. So the first thing we need to be okay with is, are we okay with not knowing the entire journey? Can we find a way to Just understand the destination, understand where we are, and just think about the very next step. And this is huge because if we can't stop ourselves from overthinking and stressing and worrying about what might happen and what steps 3, 4, 5, and 6 might look like if we haven't even taken step number 1, we're going to have a really difficult time throughout this journey. So I think this is one of the first things we need to consider. Am I able to just trust the process, trust that I'm got a clear understanding of what the destination looks like, I understand where I am, and I'm okay with just committing to take action on this first step. The second thing to consider when we're trying to weigh up whether we've got it in us to follow through and do what's required to succeed is to ask ourselves the question, am I okay with failure? And am I okay with experiencing a lot of failure? This journey isn't going to be easy. It's going to be tough. It's going to be pushing us out of our comfort zone. We're tackling, most of us anyway, myself, I'm hoping you guys are too, you're tackling big, lofty goals that you have no idea how you're going to be able to get there. We're going to be needing to learn new skills that we currently don't have. We're going to have to apply a little bit of trial and error. We're going to have to try different things, and we are going to experience more failure than success. And understanding this is paramount to understanding whether we've got it in us. Some of us are okay with this. Some of us look at every single failure as an opportunity to learn and grow and work out what the next step's going to be. Some of us have a much harder time of conceptualizing how we move forward with failure and understanding how the distinction between trying to keep ourselves safe and protected and pushing ourselves out of the comfort zone actually works. So we need to understand where we sit. And this doesn't mean we need to be taking massive action, pushing ourselves far out of our comfort zone. We get to decide what those steps look like. Each step, we get to decide what that step looks like and how challenging it is for us. But we do need to understand that there will be failures along the way. We are pushing ourselves into brand new territory that we haven't been into before. There will be failures. There'll be a lot of failures. And we need to understand, are we okay with that? And are we up for that? Are we up for that challenge? Kind of following on from the last thing that we looked at there in terms of failure, the third thing that we want to have a look at and we want to assess is, are we up for the emotional roller coaster that this journey is going to be? It isn't going to be easy. As I mentioned earlier, pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone by definition is taking ourselves away from the safety and comfort of what we already know, and it's pushing ourselves into new territory. Even when things go to plan, when we're tackling new activities, when we're learning new skills, when we're pushing new boundaries, we are not going to be feeling comfortable. We're going to have worry, we're going to have some nerves, we're going to have butterflies in our stomach, we're going to have excitement, we're going to have to deal with the uncertainty of what's going to happen after we do this new thing that we've never tried before. The feedback that we get is going to be challenging at times for us to take. Sometimes we'll have massive successes and that will feel fantastic. Other times there'll be complete disasters, and we're going to have to be able to be okay with managing that emotional response that we have. And we're going to have to get really good at getting ourselves back into form, back into a place where we're able to tackle that next challenge as quickly as we can. And this needs to be the goal. I think the goal needs to be less about eliminating the things that are going to cause discomfort and more about, okay, how can we continue to make forward progress? How can we continue to push ourselves out of our comfort zone? How can we continue to reduce the time it takes to come back each and every time? And this, I think, is one of the biggest goals that we can set ourselves as an entrepreneur and as a self-employed business owner trying to work towards whatever our definition of success is in our business and in our lives. So the third thing that we want to have a look at asking and checking in on is, are we okay with dealing with the emotional roller coaster that this journey will present? The fourth and final thing we need to ask ourselves when determining whether we're up for doing everything that's required is actually, are we up for doing the work? the disciplined action that we need to be taking on a daily basis. And this is huge. There are so many things available to us that we could be doing, but there are very few things that are actually going to move the needle forward on a daily basis. No amount of training, of thinking about what we need to do, planning, none of that actually helps move the needle forward. We need to be disciplined in taking the action and doing the activities that are actually going to help us find the success we're looking for. And this really boils down to the question of, are we committed to doing it? Often this is not the sexy stuff. As entrepreneurs, we're thinking outside the box. We're thinking creatively. We're trying to think about different things we could try. But I think what we need to be thinking about here is, to achieve success, we need to put in the reps and take the disciplined action of the things we know are going to achieve that. So often it's a mathematical formula. We're trying to work backwards, trying to figure out how many calls we need to initiate to work our way through to X amount of sales calls, which equal X number of clients into our business. There's a mathematical formula that we're trying to discover the answers to, but very often it all starts with all that outreach. The stuff we wake up not necessarily wanting to do, but they're the things that we must be doing if we're wanting to achieve success in our business. And coming back to that question of, am I willing to do what's required? I think ultimately it all boils down to that question. Am I willing to put the reps in? Am I willing to take the actions that are going to actually move that needle forward? And am I willing to do everything that's required to make a success of this? So there you have it. They're the 4 things that I think are most important in helping us determine whether we are up for this challenge. If we think about businesses, all businesses that get started, it's only 20% that actually survive 2 or 3 years. So the odds are against us finding a way to achieve the success we're looking for. Optimism and motivation alone often is not enough to get us there. We need to actually decide and make decisions on whether we have what it takes to see this through and to come out the other side with a successful business and a successful life that we're able to create for ourselves that allows us to do everything that we're wanting to do. And, for me personally, getting this balance right is something that's really, really important. One thing I'll just quickly add, it's just sort of coming up to the top of my mind at the moment. Earlier, I spoke about really understanding where we're starting from and the ultimate goal, the destination we're moving towards. One thing I'm thinking about right now is that each time we go through this process of identifying what that next step is, taking massive action and coming out the other side and being able to lean in with curiosity to the feedback that we receive and pull out all those lessons. Every time we go think about the next step, those 2 points may have changed. If we've taken massive action, if we're at our starting point and we've gone through a phase of massive action, no doubt we are at a different point along the road. We're at the start of step number 2. We're in a completely different place. And that may even have had an influence on the final destination. We may have learnt something that has made us or led us to a place where we've pivoted and slightly altered that destination. So every time we go through this process, those 2 points are slightly different and we get to start again. And it's just so important to build regular, consistent actions, processes, habits, start developing systems that we can rely on to produce the results that we're looking for. This is just a continuous process that we just keep taking repeated action towards until we hit those goals that we're looking for, and until we achieve that definition of success that is so important to us. So, I think this is a really interesting conversation. Some of us along this journey will decide that maybe this isn't for us, and we can pivot and make different arrangements about what we want to pursue next. Some of us, this conversation will really help us double down and reinforce what really is most important to us. And I know for myself personally, I probably fall into that category. I just want to jump in and start taking action on that next thing that's going to move that needle forward. So I'll leave it there for today. If you are getting value from this podcast, I would really appreciate you to take a moment of your time and hit that subscribe button. It really does help share the audience with a share the show with a wider audience, which is fantastic. I'd love to know your thoughts. If you have any comments, questions, if you've got anything to add to this conversation, I'd really love to hear from you. I am actively looking for guests to come onto the show. I know that I have been a little bit slack on that lately, and that is something I'm looking to kick off again in the not too distant future. I've got a couple of really exciting people that I'm having interviews with over the next few weeks, so that's something that's exciting to come. But if you think you've got value to add, reach out and let me know, start a conversation, and we can take it from there. Finally, if you are struggling with some of this stuff and you are wanting to start thinking about how you can build a continuous improvement mindset, my daily planning, 5-minute daily planning and continuous improvement checklist is the perfect place to start. You can just simply reach out and let me know. You can leave a note in the comments, depending on where you see this or hear this. You can head over to my website, paulheronlifecoaching.com. There's a number of different ways you can reach out, but you've just got to reach out and let me know, and I will shoot it straight through. No strings attached. I would love to be able to share this with as many people as I can, and hopefully can start a few conversations along the way. But I am here to support you in your own journey. And yeah, I'd love to connect and I'd love to hear from you. So until tomorrow, I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye for now.